Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another Best of Con list, and today we are talking about DundraCon, which is a San Francisco Bay Area local con, one of the first conventions that I ever went to, and one that I enjoy going back to every single year. And one of only the two smaller cons that I go to. You know, several thousand people instead of tens of thousands of people, like you might get in Origins or something like that. In any event, to start out talking about the con itself. As I said last year, again, it was a really well-run con. It's not a huge operation, but the people who were there were incredibly helpful, incredibly friendly, and incredibly willing to say, you know what, I don't know. Let me go figure it out. Let me help you figure it out. There's a little bit of a snafu when I got there trying to figure out where my badge was, but everyone was so nice. I was thrilled to wait and just chat and be there, and just wonderfully done. Cannot complain about that. The venue they chose, again, is a really nice open space. It's close enough to where you can go get food or have food door dashed in. They had a pretty good hot bar there. Just everything as far as the convention went, just really well done. Very clear where each different thing was, where you want to go for role playing, where you want to go for miniature painting, where you want to go for the proto spiel, open gaming, game library. Wonderful. I felt very, very safe while I was there. Here in California, the safety procedure was masked, vaccinated. They checked it. Almost everybody was masked. There was one vendor that I saw that was regularly unmasked in their own little room, and I just stayed out of it because that makes me uncomfortable. But beyond that, everyone was following the rules. Now, whether you believe that masking and vaccinations are a thing, that's totally up to you. Not up for debate. Because for me, that was the rule. Makes me more comfortable, but you know, the rules are the rules. They were enforcing the rules. They were respectful about it. Fantastic. I always love that. Now, talking about the con itself. A good vendor hall. Now, if you are someone who's only been to like an Origins or a Gen Con, you're expecting these huge things. No, it's a small vendor hall, but the stuff they had in there was nice. Had a good selection of place where you actually buy board games from. Lots of other little fun doodads and gadgets you could get for whatever that you like. Nice vendor hall. Enjoyed going through there. Managed to get out of there without buying anything, which is always a win for me. But lovely, nice. Enjoyed my time there. The Proto-Spiel room, which is where I spent a lot of time in, and if you don't know, that's where designers and publishers are kind of working out the kinks of new designs, and I always enjoy spending time in there. In fact, when I get to my list later on, you'll actually hear me talk about 3 games that I played in there, which I enjoyed kind of making my list of games that I played. But as always, it was a lovely space, lovely stuff going on. Very welcoming people, giving good feedback. They had fun prizes and things that you could win just by participating in there. It was actually really, really cool because most of the prizes they had were games that were actually developed at some point at that particular proto-spiel in years past. It was very, very cool. So what I'm saying is, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area when DundraCon is going on, you should go to it. It's great, especially if you're just looking to play games. Really, really, really had a great time while I was there. Now, moving on into, we have my top games of the con. And this year, I'm doing something a little bit different. Usually I just pick like my top 5 or whatever. But this year, I'm actually going to go through and rank all 14 different games that I played over the time I was there. Now, I didn't get to spend as much time there as I usually do. I'm actually currently in rehearsals for a play, and I was rehearsing in the mornings, and so because of that, I wasn't staying super, super late. So I probably played, 6 or 7 fewer games than I usually do. However, let's go through it. Now, the last thing I'll say before I start here, none of the games I'm about to talk about are what I would classify as bad games. None of them. For one of the first cons ever, I legitimately enjoyed every single game I played. Also, this list is not a list of, ooh, this is what I think the best game on this list is, in the macro sense. I'm literally only talking about, for me, what were my best games of the con. That involves who was I playing with, that involves how loud was the room, that involves how much of a time crunch was I on. All those things are mixed in here, so that's what's going on. So I want to start with my number 14 on the list, and that is Goblin Vaults from Thunderworks Games. And this is a game that's set in the role-player universe, and the idea is, if you've played the game Lockup, where you're trying to kind of run the prison, it's the card game that the prisoners play. And this is it's kind of a set collection game, sort of. You're kind of got a little puzzle of a patterns you're trying to place your cards out on. And it's a clever game. And I enjoyed it. It's the type of game that usually isn't my style game, because usually if I want a quicker, fast game, that's one that I usually want something that's a little bit less brain burning. But I will say everyone I played it with really enjoyed it, and I know Original Don, he actually went back to it several times over the con. But I enjoyed it, and I would certainly play it again. Number 13 is the first prototype that I have on the list, and that is a game called TriStar Racers, or at least currently is called TriStar Racers, from a gentleman named Glenn Cotter, who's a local designer. And it's fun. It's a very fast game where you're taking these tiles out and you're putting them in the middle of the racetrack, and depending on the symbols on the tiles and the matching colors, you're sending your 3 racers around the track. And whoever crosses the finish line with all 3 of the racers first is going to wind up being the winner. I got to play it with Johnny Pack. We demoed it together. I whooped him! But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to maybe seeing that make it to print someday. Number 12 was Encyclopedia. And this is a little bit of a hot button one with what's happened to Holy Grail games lately. This is the Euroist of Euro games, where you're going off and you're kind of researching animals, but really it's a kind of a set collection and kind of contract fulfillment style game. But the core of it is dice placement. And I actually really do enjoy this game. I played it with Original Don a couple times, and it's a fun game. I really have no complaints about it. And the reason it's down towards the bottom of the list for me is, again, it was a particularly loud room. It was late at night. People were tired. I was tired. I probably shouldn't have played another game that night. But all in all, it's a fun game. And for those of you who actually got your copy off Kickstarter, you've got a fun little game. And those of you who haven't gotten it yet, I really, really hope it works out that you get it, because it is a fun game. Which brings you to number 11, which is my second prototype on the list. Now, this one suffers a little bit. And that's because this is a game designed by Streamline Matt, and it's early in the prototype phase still. And it suffers a little bit because it's really not my type of game. Like, it's really not my type of game. I don't love 4X games, and this is a 4X game. He calls it Great Houses. I think it's better called Great Houses in Space. That's what I call it. But it's trying to be a 4X game which is playable in 2 hours or less. I think in the game that I played, it actually played in about 90 minutes, where it's all card-based. Each player has their own faction, where they have different abilities and different ways they can use these multi-use cards as they're managing their resources or getting new technologies, and so on and so on. And I gotta say, this is one that I thought going in, I was like, I'm not going to like this at all. But it was fun. It was fun enough that Canadian Kev, who was here, he really, really liked it. And I got some other people to play it the following day because it's a fun game. I'm really hoping that he continues to develop it, and maybe it gets picked up by somebody. It's definitely a clever game. It was actually quite fun, and I would definitely look at playing it again. And the fact that it's at number 11 is only because, one, it's not really my type of game, the whole 4X thing, but two, I had such a great weekend of other games. So there we have it. Number 10 is Jekyll vs. Hyde. I've done a video on this. It's a 2-player trick taker. It's a great little trick taker that does some really interesting stuff with the win conditions. I like it. It was fun to play. Always enjoy it. Number 9 is actually another trick taker, and that's one that I'm actually working on covering right now. It's called Thrones of Valeria from Ad Magic. And this is another, as I said, trick taker, but the kind of the core conceit on this is as you're going through, you are changing by playing your cards what the trump suit is. And it's just constantly changing, and you're going to get paid out in coins at the end of the round based on what rank the house is. And so whoever wins is going to get paid based on that. So that means if someone drops the winning house to the bottom, you're actually going to lose points. You're going to lose money by doing that. And it's very clever. Very, very clever. I really enjoyed it. And actually, I played that more times this weekend than any other game. Very cool game. Thrones of Valeria. My number 8 is a Johnny Pack mystery game. It's a Johnny Pack mystery game because, well, it's by Johnny Pack, and mystery because I can't tell you anything about it. Sometimes it happens in the Protospiel rooms. They are there's games that you can play in demo, but you can't send pictures of. You can't do that for various reasons. So for various reasons, I can't tell you anything about it, but I really enjoyed it. It's still in development. So part of me is projecting down the line what I think this game is going to be. But if it goes where I think it could go, for me, this is a better Johnny Pack title than Endless Winter. I know Johnny Pack's not the listed designer of Endless Winter, but he did all the development work on it, and it very much feels like a Johnny Pack game, and I was very favorable about Endless Winter. This one, to me, I think is more interesting. So that tells you a lot about that. Hopefully we get to learn more about it in the next year or so. I don't know, but you'll hear it from me as soon as I do know. Number 7 is an almost delivered Kickstarter, and one of the people from Crafty Games was out at this particular convention, and he had a almost done copy of Buru. And this game has kind of been caught in shipping and production hell for a little while, and so it's a late game, but I backed it, and I covered it, but I also backed it a while ago, and I'd kind of forgotten about it a little bit. I was actually starting at the point, I was like, this has been a while. Did I make a mistake back in this? But Alex was there, and he had it. I was like, sure, let's play. Oh, gosh. What a great game. I actually played this game multiple times, too. And for me to play a game multiple times at a convention that's not like a quick trick taker, that says a lot. But man, there's a blind bidding game, resource management, and it's just really good. And you can go watch my video if you want, but it just has something that is just magic. And the magic of this game is when you're playing with people that play quickly, it's just a lot of fun because you're just bid. You're flipping over these bids, and you're not actually paying anything. You just are using your workers that have different strength, and you're going, no, I paid too much, or oh, I just barely missed the thing, or oh my gosh, if only I was first player, had the first player marker right now, I would have won, and so I'm going to take that first player marker later, and it really works. And for a fast Euro game with this blind bidding mechanic, I think it's going to be a pretty special game when it arrives. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it showing up whenever it does get here, probably in the summer. I don't know. My number 6 game is one that I've covered in the past, and then I went and I backed the new content, and that is Warpgate. And so Warpgate Beyond. And again, I enjoyed Warpgate, but what Warpgate Beyond does is it introduces a new solo mode, which I haven't gotten to try yet, but it also makes it to where you're doing more simultaneous play when you're playing at a larger player count. We played at 4 players because each card has an initiative on it. And so not only does it kind of allow you to place your cards at the same time, which reduces the time a little bit, but it also makes the interaction between players a little bit more dynamic because as you're doing this, you are never sure exactly when you're going to go. By the way, if you're wondering why the light's kind of going in and out, it's because I actually have the windows on the other side of the room opened up, and apparently the sun is out today and it is moving and there's clouds, and so if I'm brightening and darkening, that's what's going on there. But Warpgate Beyond, I like this game quite a bit, and I particularly enjoy this game because of the core action selection. The later in the round you go, the more powerful your abilities are. You put down the card the first round, and every action card has a variable on it. You can move X hexes, and X is 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on how early in the round you play. So the first card you played, that X will be 1 hex. The fourth card you play, that X will be 4 hexes, or whatever it is. And it's really clever. Combat is lightning fast. You draw 2 cards, you play 1. Each ship is worth 1 strength, and there's a multiplier on the card, and the cards have text on it. And I really love how that combat works, because one of the things that bothers me a lot of times in a 4X game, this is a fast 4X game, is when you lose combat, you're out of it for several rounds while you try to rebuild. But for the most part, in Warpgate 1, it's really easy to get new ships out there. But when you lose, you might lose 1 ship, maybe 2 ships, and the rest retreat. So you can constantly kind of battle. So you're doing this battling, you're taking the land, you're taking the territory, but you don't have these long rebuilding phases, and I think that works really well. So I still really do enjoy Warpgate, and I think this expansion is particularly good. I might report more on that down the road. Number 5. Number 5 is one that AEG was kind enough to send me home with after Gen Con. I've played a few times, and I've been really interested in it, and this is Wormholes. And what has me super excited about it is it's a pick up and deliver game. And I've said this so many times, I just don't have a pick up and deliver game that stays. Either they're too long, or it's something about it doesn't satisfy. The closest I have is Shiver Me Timbers, which is not fully a pick up and deliver game. There's other stuff going on. So I enjoyed that one. But Wormholes is got something going for it that none of the others have, and it is lightning fast. You're going out with your little ships, you're putting out wormholes, and you're popping through wormholes. You're bouncing all over the map, picking up passengers and dropping them off somewhere else. And I am not joking. We played a 4-player with teaching the game in under 40 minutes. Lightning fast with some very clever strategy in it. Really cannot complain about wormholes. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to be playing more of that, and it's going to be staying on my shelf, and I'm probably going to be trying to upgrade my bits. That's how much I enjoyed wormholes. That brings me to number 4. Number 4 is a game that I always say I wish I played more, and at the end of the day, I only wind up playing it at local conventions, the ones that I can just drive to, and that is Heroes Welcome. And this is from Pencil First Games. It's a Euro game, but it has this really, really fun theme that you are these goblin merchants in a town, and at the beginning of each round, the heroes come back from the dungeon. The heroes come back from the dungeon, and they have all this loot, and you're going to buy this loot from them, and you can give them coins, and then they're going to be moving around the town, and what you're doing is you are selecting what shop the heroes go to, and then you close the shop. So that's kind of the worker placement aspect of it, but it's like a shared worker placement. And you're going to be buying their stuff, giving them coins, and maybe you're going to be taking their coins by selling them other stuff. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take these items, you're going to break them down into their component parts, and then you're going to make new weapons and new armor and new trinkets, and you're going to sell them to monsters, I guess, come in the back door. Those monsters will then take those items, go back into the dungeon. The heroes will then go into the dungeon and then kill those monsters, come back with the stuff that you already made. You're going to take the stuff that you made, you're going to break it down and make something new, sell it to someone else. So it's this, I guess it's war profiteering? I don't know, but the theme is just, it's a delightful little theme in this fantasy, fun fantasy world, and it works really well. I play it every year. I want to play it more. It's a very clever game, and that's why it's my number 4 from my best of the con. Now, number 3 is one that probably would have been higher, except it was a kind of crush for time, and I started to play this, and every single person in the world that had to get a hold of me had to get a hold of me now, right then, and I couldn't put it off. So I was trying to play and do stuff with my phone, and it slowed the game down. It made it less fun for all of us. But that is Argent the Consortium, and this is a game that I've almost bought a million times. And Streamline Matt and I, we were playing some games, we were walking out, and we saw it on the table, and I was like, I constantly am almost buying that. He said, me too. And then and then on Sunday, I was playing another game of Buru when Matt and his fiance got there, who is just a fantastic artist, by the way. I'm going to drop down in the description. I'm going to drop a link to her art because she is this amazing abstract artist. You need to check it out. Neither here nor there, but she showed up to the convention also. And while I was finishing up that game, they went to the vendor hall and they came out and she said to me, Matt bought the game that you were talking about. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. We talk about a lot of games, but then that's the one. He saw it and he bought it. And so we punched it out and we went and we checked it out and we played this game. And it just is so cool. It's so complicated. In fact, while I was playing a game that I just put a video out called Donut Shop earlier today, which I didn't even put in the list. Why? Because I just released a video on it. So I don't know. I should have put it in the list, but I didn't put it in the list. So I'm sorry, 25th Century Games. I didn't put Donut Shop in the list. So, but we're neither here nor there because I'm not starting to do the whole list over. Sorry about that. But I was playing that game, and people kept stopping. One, they were stopping to talk to me about Donut Shop because we were wearing donut seller hats, or to talk to Matt, who was punching out and learning the rules of Argent the Consortium, saying, oh, that game is hard. It's hard to get into, but it's so much fun. And literally 4 or 5 people stopped by to tell us, so we're playing this game, and they're right. It's a hard, complicated game because there's a lot of variables, and you're drafting your different types of workers, and you're using these different types of workers, and you're getting new spells, and you're in like this mage academy that you're going through. But it is so cool. Like, I'm a little bit sad. I don't have my own copy. Streamline Matt lives up the road, but I'm a little bit sad I don't have my own copy. I really want to play more. I'm really bummed I didn't actually get to dive deep into the game. It's really cool. Which brings me to number 2. This is a game I've talked about a ton. In fact, I played the prototype of this game over 20 times, and that is Theurgy. Finally got the production copy. I did a late night game of this, brought in somebody new who had never even heard of the game, and we played a 4-player game, and it's just still fantastic. I really like the game. I did horribly. Original Don and I, we did that thing where we'd both played before, so we were beating up on each other and kind of not bothering the new players. Then we're getting towards the end of the game. I was like, oh my gosh, they're both about to win. I was like, okay, truce, Don. I'm going to go after green over here. I'm going to try to stop green. You try to stop yellow. And I was able to stop green, but yellow was in such a strong position. There was just nothing we could do. Like maybe if we both ganged up on yellow, maybe we could have stopped yellow and then gotten ourselves there. But then, of course, green definitely would have won. So we put ourselves in best of it. It's such a great game. There's a couple little warts on the production side, just tiny, tiny ones. I need to do a little doctoring on some of the lighter colored meeple monsters so we can see them a little bit better, but it's a fantastic game. In fact, I'm going to drop down in the description a way you can get a copy of that, because there's extra copies to be had. They're not everywhere, so you actually have to send an email, but I'm going to drop that down there too. Such a good game. It's so good. I've now played clearly over 20 times, and I still really, really like it. Which brings me to my #1 game of the con. It's been #1 before many a con, and that is Vast Mysterious Manor. I'm back on my winning ways. I managed to take down the armored knight. I was the skeletons, and we had a full player game. And for maybe the first time, everybody at the table had played the game more than once before. Everyone knew how the game worked, and we were in and out in 90 minutes, which can't beat that. I love Vast Mysterious Manor. I play it once or twice a year. I will often play it on my birthday or around my birthday, and I will play it at a con. That's it. Such a great game. It's a fragile game. There's lots that can go wrong. There's lots of easy ways that you can make mistakes and not quite know exactly how it's working or not do this right, but it's so worth it once you get into it. I love this game. Had a great time. So there you have it, folks. That is my best of DundraCon. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.